Hey, Stone Cousins. You already know what time it is. Animated horror stories. Animated horror stories. Let's get into it. Hanging out with our homeboys, SSG Animation. Yeah, yeah. Meaning you already know what time it is. Something good. As I always say, if you want to, feel free to go subscribe to their channels. They upload constantly, and I'm usually doing something that they uploaded like a month ago. So, if you want to stay on track with them, feel free to go and, subscribe. Other than that, like the video. I will tell you something to comment throughout, and you should already be subscribed because this is a stolen family over here. Grab a bottle of water, your blunts, a blanket, and a bag of chips. Two true pregnancy horror stories. Excuse me. What are y'all doing to these pregnant women? Like, I watch a lot of other creepy stuff, so I know about, like, people snatching people's babies right out of the womb. Dusty, crusty ass people, right? Um, like that's all that could be it in my mind. Other than that, like, what are you doing? Are you just trying to kidnap someone's baby? Leave their baby alone. Let's see what they're doing. Cause, come on now.
Back in the late 80s, my husband and I moved into a cabin in the woods. It was
No.
completely isolated, making it the perfect place to settle down and raise a family. I was also 9 months pregnant at the time and looking forward to being a mother. I couldn't move around much due to my severe back pain, so most of my days were spent lying in bed. And if I ever needed to get somewhere, my husband would always have to help me out. One day, my husband had to work overtime at the local ranger station, leaving me home alone for the night. I was used to my husband working at night, to be honest, so that wasn't a problem for me. I kissed him goodbye, changed into my pajamas, and climbed into bed, then dozed off. At around midnight, I woke up to the sound of a vehicle pulling up on my driveway and two headlights shining through my window. I let out a yawn and rolled onto my side, then peered out the window next to my bed. What I saw was a rusty old pickup truck parked in front of my house and four men standing at my
Oh
door. They were
no.
all dressed in black and staring right back at me through the window. One of them shouted,
Could you please open the door, ma'am? We know you're alone in there. My friends and I haven't had a bite to eat all day, and there's nothing more filling than a nice, juicy pregnant woman.
he said, while hungrily licking his lips.
Oh,
I
this is
kept silent,
disgusting.
trembling in fear of what I'd just heard. Who were these men? I'd never seen them before in my life, yet they knew I was pregnant and that I was alone.
I hope her husband didn't tell these people that she was home alone. Because who else would know that she was home alone other than her and her husband? Ugh. Yeah.
Yet they knew I was pregnant and that I was alone. But more importantly, they wanted to eat me, including my unborn child. I needed to
Oh,
escape,
they actually want
but
to
I
eat
wasn't in
her.
any condition to run. And even if I could run, where would I go? I lived in the woods, miles away from town,
I thought that was
didn't have a
cold.
landline,
No,
and
they
my
really want to eat her.
husband had the car. Also, it was 20 degrees outside. How far could I possibly get while wearing a nightgown and barefoot? One of the men started banging on the door violently, so I rolled out of bed and fell on the floor, landing flat on my butt. I wasn't exaggerating when I said I needed my husband to help me stand up. My back pain was so intense that I couldn't even get up, even if my life depended on it, and it most certainly did in this case. As embarrassing as it sounds, all I could do was crab walk across the floor, basically crawling on all fours in a belly-up position. Using my hands and feet, I crab walked out of my room, went into the hallway, and headed straight for the basement, thinking it would be a good hiding spot. I couldn't sit up enough to reach the doorknob, but thankfully the basement door was slightly ajar. I kicked it open and crawled in as the man continued banging on the front door. Once I was inside the basement, I found myself sitting at the top of a long stairway, but I didn't feel like going further down. I just quietly closed the door behind me, letting it click shut, and then laid flat on my back. Even though it was only for a few seconds, crab walking with a big belly was exhausting, and lying down in a prone position gave me some relief. So I just stayed like that on the top step, breathing heavily while thinking of what to do next. That's when I heard movement at the base of the stairs. With wide, fear-filled eyes, I tilted my head up to look down at the last step, and to my absolute horror, 3 men were standing there, looking straight at me. I let out a blood-curdling scream when I saw them. I was so worried about the guy banging on the front door that I didn't realize the other men had already found a way inside. I sat up as best I could and raised my hands above my head, trying to reach the doorknob while maintaining eye contact with the men, but I couldn't reach it. The men must have figured out right away that I couldn't stand up or even sit up because they all started laughing at me. To them, I must have looked like a helpless turtle lying on its shell, unable to turn over.
Look at all that fresh meat,
one of them said while loudly licking his lips.
Yeah, we're gonna eat like kings tonight,
said another.
I call first bite,
said the third guy.
That belly looks so plump and juicy. I just gotta sink my teeth into it.
Hearing these men casually talk about eating me and my unborn child was terrifying beyond words. And if that wasn't creepy enough, the men started climbing the stairs on all fours, one after the other, like a pack of wolves. They were taking their sweet time doing so, salivating as I continued to reach for the doorknob, but it was no use. After a few seconds, I got tired and fell flat on my back yet again. With no weapons around to defend myself, I did the only thing I could think of. I raised both of my bare feet in the air and bent my knees back like I was getting ready to kick. "If you come one step closer, I'll kick you in the face," I threatened. The men stopped for a moment and glanced at my feet, then back at me, and just started laughing. Of course they didn't take me seriously. A crying, pregnant woman lying on her back with her bare feet raised in the air isn't very intimidating to begin with. That, combined with the fact I was shaking from head to toe and looked like I was going to pee myself at any second, just made me look even more non-threatening.
Is this the part where we run away?
One man asked in a mocking tone as he continued ascending the stairs.
The last 2 women we killed had actual guns pointed at us. And you think we're gonna run away from 2 little bare feet? How amusing.
Hearing that filled me with dread, but I kept the soles of my feet aimed in their direction, waiting for them to make a move. When the first man got close enough, I kicked him in the face as hard as I could, sending him rolling down the stairs. But the second man jumped over him and lunged toward me. I kicked again, but this time he caught my foot mid-kick, then brought it up to his face. The man focused his gaze on my bare foot, then smiled at me.
What a delicious-looking foot you have, ma'am. So soft and slender. I could just eat it up, let you go. Why would we ever let you go?
Kick him with the other one.
And with that, he opened his mouth and licked the bottom of my foot from heel to toe. I glared at him in disgust and was about to kick him with my other foot, but the third man grabbed that one as well. Please, just let me go. I promise I won't tell anyone, I begged.
Let you go? Why would we ever let you go?
The man laughed as he kissed my foot.
We're about to have dinner.
Before I knew it, several hands were clawing at my nightgown, ripping it off my body in seconds. No, please, I sobbed as I was left in just my panties and bra. I'd never felt so humiliated and scared in my life. I felt my skin crawl as the men drooled over me, staring hungrily at my belly. They held my wrists and ankles down, so all I could do was struggle in vain.
Gentlemen, dinner is now served, so let's eat,
he said calmly. Just when I thought I was going to die, I heard 2 gunshots outside, followed by my husband's voice calling my name. I'm in the basement! I shouted back as loud as I could. I could hear my husband's footsteps racing towards me, and so could the men, which is why they let me go and started running down the stairs. They knew my husband was armed, so they slipped out through the cellar door. When my husband entered the basement, he looked down at me with concern and helped me to my feet. I told him about the 3 men, and he chased after them. Unfortunately, they made it back to their pickup truck and sped off. We never saw them again after that. But my husband did manage to shoot the one at the front door. Cops were called, but nothing ever came of it, and we moved on. I have since given birth to a healthy baby girl, and we're all still living peacefully in the cabin to this day, albeit with extra locks on our windows and doors.
Do you have a second car? Y'all, that...
Anyone who has a sibling will understand my story very well, especially if you and your sibling are inseparable. I'm Dalton, and I have a twin brother, Aiden. We are both 8, and our mother is pregnant with her 3rd child, who I heard is going to be a girl. So Aiden and I are going to have a sister. I don't understand much about babies or how they get into mothers' bellies, but I do know one thing, that my sister is going to come out of mom next month. As the days pass by and the date on which the doctor said my baby sister will come into the world comes closer, my parents become more and more worried. Although the doctor had assured them 100 times that my sister will be okay, they can't stop contemplating the possibility that something will go wrong. My dad had a business, and you could say we're rich. I know this because other boys in my school don't come to school in a black car with the 4 interconnected rings logo on it. Only I do. They all help me with my homework, and all the teachers are nice to me, even though I'm not so bright in my studies. They say that it must be tough at home for me, so they don't mind helping me as much as they can. It's nice to be treated better than my classmates. At home, my mom is always worried about my baby sister and how she needs to take care of herself till my sister comes out of her. She barely pays me any attention. She wants this daughter of hers to be perfect, even though I'm pretty perfect myself. I don't understand why she needs another baby to be perfect too. Mostly at home, Dad goes to work. Mom is in her room napping, reading, or doing whatever pregnant moms do, and I'm all alone. There's Mrs. Lee, my caretaker, who makes sure I do my homework and eat food on time. But my caretaker, who makes sure I do my homework.
Okay, it's only a little bit. Y'all mind if we go back? Because he said he had a brother, didn't he? Boop, 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 boop. Story 2. We just gonna start over. Because he said he had a brother, ain't he?
Anyone who has a sibling will understand my story very well, especially if you and your sibling are inseparable. I'm Dalton, and I have a twin brother, Aiden. We are both 8, and our mother is pregnant with her 3rd child, who I heard is going to...
Where is Aiden at? Y'all, he had a home already? They're 8. What did he do? Where has he been at? Obviously, we're gonna find out, but you know, it was towards the end and they ain't say nothing about that little boy, so I just had to Had to
to be a
had to go
girl.
back.
So Aiden and I are going to have a sister. I don't understand much about babies or how they get into mothers' bellies, but I do know one thing, that my sister is going to come out of mom next month. As the days pass by and the date on which the doctor said my baby sister will come into the world comes closer, my parents become more and more worried. Although the doctor had assured them 100 times that my sister will be okay, they can't stop contemplating the possibility that something will go wrong. My dad had a business, and you could say we're rich. I know this because other boys in my school don't come to school in a black car with the 4 interconnected rings logo on it. Only I do. They all help me with my homework, and all the teachers are nice to me, even though I'm not so bright in my studies. They say that it must be tough at home for me, so they don't mind helping me as much as they can. It's nice to be treated better than my classmates. At home, my mom is always worried about my baby sister and how she needs to take care of herself till my sister comes out of her. She barely pays me any attention. She wants this daughter of hers to be perfect, even though I'm pretty perfect myself. I don't understand why she needs another baby to be perfect too. Mostly at home, Dad goes to work. Mom is in her room napping, reading, or doing whatever pregnant moms do, and I'm all alone. There's Mrs. Lee, my caretaker, who makes sure I do my homework and eat food on time. But I don't like her very much, as she keeps on following me everywhere. Dad comes back home late, almost always after I'm asleep, and whenever he is at home, he's either fussing over my mom and my future baby sister, or fighting with my mom over something. He barely looks at me, let alone has time for me. My parents think I'm old enough to look after myself with the help of Mrs. Lee. Now, you must be thinking why I'm alone and bored when I have a twin brother.
Yeah.
Well, Aiden lives somewhere else.
Why?
Every other week, Dad and I go visit him there. Mom doesn't want to see him, especially not when she's about to give birth to our baby sister. He's been living apart from us for the last 3 years, since we were 5. I get so bored alone, and whenever we go see him, he refuses to talk to me, let alone play with me. Dad wants me to have a good bond with my brother, and so do I. So every time I go to visit him, I ask Dad to buy me new toys so I can share them with him while we play. He always wants to talk to Dad alone, without me. Dad always goes into his room while I wait outside, and every time he walks out, he's disappointed. I hate to see Dad like that. He's so tired, working, looking after Mom, and then visiting Aiden too. That's why each time he comes out of Aiden's room, I beg him to bring Aiden home with us. Give him one more chance. At first, Dad used to listen to my pleas and let Aiden come home with us. Those were the times when I used to be super happy. I was glad because I finally had my brother to play with again. When we were around 3 or 4, we had begged Dad to get us a swing set in the backyard, which is there even now. So when Aiden came home, the first thing we used to do was play in the backyard and swing on the swings. Although Aiden used to play mostly by himself with his separate set of toys, I just enjoyed being with him. Having him home, he used to not let me touch his things or him, and often fought with me if I did take his toys by mistake. Mom and Dad were tired of his behavior, but if I begged them to let him stay just for a little while longer, they used to let him stay at home as long as he didn't behave badly. Mrs. Lee used to look after both of us, especially Aiden, and I knew he hated it just as much as I did. But the longer he stayed, the worse things got. It all usually used to start with a neighbor's dead pet found somewhere around our house. Then Dad's car was keyed. Mrs. Lee found big insects in food containers. Then Mom's pills are swapped with dish soap pills, and so on. Mom and Dad used to immediately send him back, and it was boring again. Then Dad and I used to visit him, and I used to beg Dad to give Aiden another chance, which used to be nothing but a repeat of all the previous events. Not just our neighbors, but even Mom and Mrs. Lee had started to be scared of Aiden, as they had faced fatal consequences whenever he was home. And now that Mom is going to have my baby sister, I don't think Aiden is ever coming back home. The doctors who look after Aiden in the mental health facility also think that he should stay there now that the baby is coming home. They help him and give him medicines to cure his illness so that he becomes perfect again, like me. Nevertheless, I'm going to beg Dad to give Aiden one last chance to come home before the baby is out, even though he might get sent back to the hospital again. When he is home, Mom looks at me and tells me what a good boy I am. That's the time when she pays attention to me. Moreover, whenever he is not around, I have to be a really good boy and not do any of those pranks that I love to do whenever he is home. This time, I want to add poison to Mom's food, so my baby sister will die in her stomach, and Aiden will be sent back to the hospital. Then, finally, with both of my siblings gone, Mom will look after me again, instead of Mrs. Lee.
Yo! Yo! He's framing his brother? That's why Aiden don't want to talk to him. I was definitely like, why Aiden don't fuck with you? He don't fuck with you because it's you, bro. He's like, I would never do none of these things. Why would I do these things? I love home. I hate being here. I don't need these pills. I'm already perfect. I'm straight. It's you that's messed up. Wow. Wow. I love a good twist, y'all. And I'm really like, oh my goodness. He really got everybody thinking that it's Aiden cutting up. He had me confused. He had me thinking it was Aiden. Aiden. He had me thinking it was Aiden. But it's not. It's him. Mm-mm. If I was Aiden, every time he begged to come home, I'd be like, no, I don't want to come back home with him. I'm sure he probably told his dad, like, I don't need to be here. My brother does. And his dad's like, sure. That's what they all say. But oh my goodness, y'all. That's really crazy. Go on and like this video. Because you already know that was a good twist. Comments. And you should already be subscribed because we're locked in like this. That's what cousins do. And until next time, you guys, I love you. Bye.